Coach, this is a TCU team that ever since they came back from their kind of time off, they played really well. Played two ranked teams close. From what you've seen from the tape, what have they done well in those last 3 or 4 games?
Yeah, I like TCU's team this year. I think we're sitting here in still early February. What is the date, man? Is it early February? Mid-February. I think TCU still in a lot of ways controls their own destiny. You know, they've had a team, couple of kind of one possession losses that could have gone the other way, probably should have. You know, I still think they've got the makings of an NCAA tournament team. I think it's going to be a big kind of 2-game stand for both teams. I like their team. Returning players have definitely gotten better, whether it be Nimhard, Samuel, and they've recruited well, as those guys always do down there. And obviously getting some special contributions from one of the best freshmen in our league. We'll have to play well. I think TCU is a team that's gotten better as the year's gone on. That's always a mark of a well-coached, good team. They're on a 2-game winning streak here in the Big 12, which is so hard to do. Like we've talked about this before, you know, you win a couple games in this league in a row and everything's back to being great. You drop a couple, the world's coming to an end. So I like their team this year. I've always had great respect for Jamie Dixon. I met him early in my career when I was the head coach at Fort Scott Community College, and he was at Pitt as an assistant, and saw firsthand what kind of guy he is, what kind of coach he is, how he recruits. So I've just been a big fan of his whole career, and just enjoy the competition with those guys. He's got a good staff, and should be 2 great college basketball games.
You mentioned Kevin Samuel. He's been a guy who, ever since he got there, has been really good rebounder and really efficient in terms of scoring. What makes a guy like that, outside of just him being a mass of a man, hard to stop on the inside and on the board?
Yeah, he's a really good player. He's a unique guy. His size, to me, does not define him. That's not the deal. Unbelievable offensive rebounder with his timing, gets his own misses a lot. He's got extremely quick hands on defense. Gets a lot of steals, kind of eye-popping numbers for his position. Has a calmness and a demeanor about him. He's always been kind of one of my favorite players in the league to watch. He's gotten better on their staff's watch, you know, over the years. So I think he's much, much more than just a big guy. He makes a lot of things happen with his talent.
All right, Joe, do you have a question?
Yeah, Coach, I guess keeping on the theme of the big guys, could you talk a little bit about Jadon Ledee? It looks like to me that maybe he's providing a little bit of a compliment to Samuel down low and giving him some depth up front.
Yeah, to compete and win in this league, you obviously have to have depth in each position, and he's done a great job. You know, he's a great offensive rebounder. He's very, very strong and athletic. He's not just one of these guys that is athletic in warm-ups, but then doesn't translate to the game. His athleticism translates to the game, the things he can get done on both ends of the floor. I think he's been a big part of the success they've had this season. There's no let up when Samuel comes off for a rest or whatever. I mean, he's more than capable. He's a Big 12 player for sure.
Okay, and Terence Shannon, how close to 100% is he? I know he had the banged up ankle. Is that pretty much all good now?
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's 100% in February in college basketball. You know, all guys are kind of banged up. TJ's had his share of adversity. No excuse culture, no excuse program. Certainly he's a no excuse player. Do think it is my job as a coach, you know, to tell the truth and take up for these guys. And I obviously tried that the other night a little bit, but yeah, with TJ, he's got some things he's dealing with, but he's doing a great job fighting through some adversity and trying to play as well as he can.
All right, let's go to Carlos.
Coach, in your previous history, how can you, I guess, frame this type of 2-game series where you're playing a team back to back? And how have you kind of prepared your guys for something like this, where it's like a tournament, but you're playing the same team twice in a matter of 3 days?
Yeah, personally, been here and done this a few times. I think when I was an assistant for Coach Knight at Texas Tech, we ran into the situation. Last game of the regular season is against opponent A. A couple days later, you play against opponent A in the Big 12 tournament. You see that from time to time. Certainly in the ABA in Myrtle Beach, we had a couple of home stands like this where we played the same team twice in a short amount of time, kind of back-to-backs. I know Brian Berg and Chris Ogden, our former assistants that are coaching in the Sun Belt now. That's how their league is set up this year. They're playing on Friday nights and Saturday afternoons. So to my knowledge, I don't think Texas Tech and TCU will be the only teams asked to do this. That's just off the top of my head. I don't know that to be 100%, but I'm almost sure that I heard that or somebody told me that. But it's a unique situation, no doubt, but COVID-19 2021 season has been nothing but normal. So it'll be interesting to see how this deal goes down.
You've already spoken about Kevin Samuel and some of the other post players there. How do you feel you can get Marcus a little bit better in terms of not making mistakes and getting into foul trouble early? Because it seemed like that was something he was beating himself up about in the last game where he fouled out with about 3 minutes and he didn't have a chance to help his team.
First of all, with Marcus, I mean, that's a trait to anybody that's elite at what they do. I would challenge anybody to find me somebody elite in their avenue of life that doesn't hold themselves accountable. And Marcus does. So that's why it's, a privilege, pleasure to coach Marcus every day, because he wants to be great, just like I want him to be great. He wants the team to win, just like I want the team to win. He wants to get his master's degree, just like I want him to get his master's degree. So he's a guy that holds himself accountable. I think some of it is just discipline, just not kind of being patient on defense. There's some plays that Marcus can make, but sometimes you have to kind of gauge risk versus reward. And he's just got to be more disciplined in some moments. Some of it is the other 4 players on the court, have got to, do some things to keep him out of those situations. If guards repeatedly get beat on the dribble, then Marcus is going to be repeatedly in those situations where he has to protect the basket. I've always been a guy that holds myself accountable too. There's got to be some things from a coaching standpoint that we can continue to do for him to help him as well. So we're working hard at that. But I think it's just a combination of a lot of things. Probably discipline is on the top of the list.
And I know you've already been asked about Terrence, and I just want to double check the ankle that he was nursing. Was that the same one that he injured earlier this year?
Like, I couldn't even tell you that.
Yeah.
Got the best trainer in college basketball. That's Mike's world. I guess I should know that. I told my I can't even remember what hand I've broken in the past. I cannot remember which knee was the one that Dr. Crawford fixed. So I'm not the best guy on that. Kind of makes me feel a little dumb. I should know things like that, but I don't. But Mike Neal does.
Gotcha. And I guess just in terms of that, I guess what are some things that you had to do? Because I know obviously he didn't play the way he wanted to play in that contest. I guess what were y'all trying to do to get him going? Because it seemed like you held him out for a little bit to maybe give him a little bit of rest, or maybe to calm him down a little bit, or was that more for injury to kind of help him out with what he's dealing with right now, like you mentioned?
No, I'm not going to go that far. He was cleared to play in the last game. I think the game at Kansas State we've already talked about was kind of a unique deal. He was cleared to play in this game. He wasn't on a minute restriction or anything like that. I don't want to speak for TJ, but it just didn't play as well as he would have wanted, or I would have wanted, or the team would have wanted. But we wouldn't be sitting here today in the top 10 competing for a nice run in March coming up if it wasn't for TJ Shannon. So no player that's ever played this game has had great games night after night. There's a factor of the other team's pretty good too. So I thought TJ's heart was in the right place the other night. Just didn't have his best game. Just like many times in my career, my heart's been in the right place, and I haven't had my best game. So it's team sports.
Last one from me. Going back to the back-to-back against TCU, just playing them, does that put more emphasis on game planning, or does that put more emphasis on maybe in-game adjustments from when you guys play them? Or I guess if you could just kind of describe the unique situation about game planning for a team back-to-back days in back-to-back games, pardon me, in a 3-day span.
Yeah, from my experience, in professional basketball, it was always kind of a quick turnaround, like you, as a coach and player, when the game ends, you kind of have a pretty good feel for what worked and what didn't work. And then one of the challenges or objectives in scouting and recruiting is weeks later, when you play that team again, you got to get yourself in that mindset. Like, that's the first thing in recruiting. You have to put your feet back in that game. You got to get yourself back. Hey guys, do you remember this team? Do you remember what it was like? Do you remember this? Do you remember that? In these back-to-backs, there's not really that delay. So, and I think it'll be interesting, game two. You'll see some things that worked for both teams probably be attempted again. You'll see some quick adjustments. Not that you don't always, but it's just like it's on everybody's mind. It's like it's just kind of different. You guys know me. I love the NBA and studied as much as anybody, and it's really the beauty of those 7-game series in the playoffs, right? Watching the adjustments. It's not just the coaches, that's the big thing. A coach made this adjustment. Shoot, the players. The players are the ones out there playing. They're the ones that make many, many more adjustments than the coaches do. So this is 2 good teams. I can't say it any clearer. I have a lot of respect for TCU. I think they're a really good team. They have the looks of an NCAA tournament team. They control their own destiny here as February turns into March. So we'll have to play really well, 80 minutes to have a chance to win these games.
Okay, we'll finish up. Eric Kelly has one more question.
Coach, this is now kind of your second go around this season in terms of having this extended time off. Do you kind of go with the same structure of things you want to get done during the time, or do you use it to kind of mix things up and try different things and just see what you can get accomplished without that game on the weekend?
Yeah, a little both. We take advantage of the break to get the guys some much needed rest. Because I don't even know what day of the week is it right now. Is today Friday? So that game was on Tuesday. So we didn't do much bone-on-bone team practice at all on Wednesday or Thursday. Complete day off one of those days. And today get back to the practice for a little bit. So I think the number one objective is always rest, especially as hard as these guys play and as long and gruesome as the season can be in the Big 12. Always like to get back to the fundamentals too, like explain to the guys there's always 2 kind of journeys going on in a season. It's each individual player trying to play their best, and then it's the team trying to play the best. And it's always good to kind of have some time to talk about each individual getting back to some focuses. Hey, here's 2 or 3 things you really got to try to focus on defense. Here's some things you're doing great on offense. Keep it going. Hey, could you add this thing to your game? And then certainly with our team, we're always talking about how can we get better on all 3 phases of the ball. And so from this time off is always, it's something that you can definitely take advantage of.